This information is to support your mental wellness whenever you are attending a potentially stressful situation, such as a protest against human rights violations, especially if you are not the ally or the advocate of the group that is most impacted, but are instead a member of the group that is regularly having their human rights violated. This is the third video in a series of 4. This information can also support you if there is a mental and physical health care team that currently exists to support community safety. But maybe that team grows or shifts or changes in some way. These steps can aid you in deciding what types of support to build in your own personal life for your own personal thriving. I'm Mashera, a trained therapist and communal mental wellness coach, the owner of 2 Indie with Love. I'm speaking as a part of a collaborative effort from my professional and personal perspective and from the mouths of a liberation-based care team that I trust. The purpose of this video is to help you create the type of care you deserve and to identify support people in your personal life who are in alignment with your health and safety based on them doing their own daily mental wellness practices. First, let's talk about who should not be on your personal self-care support team. Basically, these are people who may not be emotionally equipped to support you because they are folks who, knowing that you are in the group that is experiencing the human rights violations, choose not to listen to you and believe you, and instead simply say you should do things like not be there at the protest, or you're asking for it. Or they say you should just expect to be harmed because of how you look or who you are. Maybe they say you should just go to work the next day as if your humanity and dignity are not regularly at risk and impacted by chronic harm toward your community. These may be people who say you should never speak out loud about human rights violations, or that will make the violations continue. Basically, if you don't stop talking about abuse, you'll never get out of the cycle of abuse. This is the cycle that you didn't cause in the first place, especially if it's a cycle that has been happening since your parents' were born. But they may say, you shouldn't bring that up. You shouldn't mention that. They may also be people who are not emotionally equipped. They might say, you should only really ask for help. Maybe they only ask for help if they are falling apart or can't keep it together. Why wouldn't someone who believes in these ways be a supportive member of your self-care plan before, during, or after a human rights violation protest? Because, as well-intentioned as they may be, each of those 5 beliefs mentioned before can create internal shame in you and others because they are survivor blaming. Each scenario is based on the concept of respectability. Respectability is a trauma survival technique. Trauma survival techniques do excellent at helping people survive horrible conditions, but these same techniques may not help people thrive. The trauma survival idea that if you would just stop admitting that pain hurts and do your best to act like it doesn't and stay calm in the midst of harm, then the harmers would stop harming you and the enablers would stop enabling your harm, is actually just victim blaming. Victim and survivor blaming assume that how poorly you are treated is your fault and you should have behaved better as a survivor. You should have been the bigger, calmer person, and you should cooperate more with the psychological harm you are experiencing as a way to get the psychological harm that you didn't cause and you don't control to end. This does not place full responsibility on the person or the traumatic system that is chronically harming you. Since that is how survivor blaming beliefs go, The following tips will not shame or silence you for feeling human feelings or having self-worth, self-dignity, or making choices for your thriving. Within your self-care plan, you can honor that in healing and transformative justice, you do get choice. So if any of these tips shared here do not feel best for you, don't worry about trying to force them to fit your lived experience. Since you are the only expert on you, you can trust your body, your intuition, and your desire for basic safety and joy over any ideas that may work for the next person watching this video, but not for you. And now that we have identified beliefs that are actually survivor blaming, we can move on to some other perspectives. Here's what I, as a Black person who was trained as a therapist, can recommend for self-care before, during, and after a human rights violation protest. Step 1, have daily mental wellness practices before even attending. These can be effective, especially if they are how you start each morning before caring for your dog, your kids, checking on your partner, or messages on your phone, etc. With some of my coaching clients, I call these bedside table techniques. These things are like breathing or journaling, having a cup of tea by yourself, muscle stretches that you can do even in bed before you get up. Or they can be done in a specific place in your home, such as outside on your balcony. Before you check in or take care of everything and everyone else in the world. As a survivor, daily mental wellness practices, especially in the morning, can help to anchor you so you are not swinging back and forth all day based on other people's needs or based on your responsibilities or the environment around you. These daily mental wellness practices can help steady you before you even find out that harm is impacting your community. And that harm is being shared, new harm is being shared on the news, at work, on social media, and in the group chat. You can anchor yourself to start the day first. More examples of how to do this include maybe your faith practices, body movement, pre-breakfast snack traditions, or even a bottle of your favorite scent by the bed that you can just sit and breathe in and relax with first thing in the morning. Step 2, connect with others who already have their own daily mental wellness practices and check on each other as you care for yourselves within the supportive friend community. You can find these folks in your local support group, in your neighborhood, or by very specifically picking activities that nourish you. Hobbies like your book club or your weightlifting community. If you want to make a friend that has daily mental wellness practices, just observe how various people in various scenarios talk about themselves, how they treat themselves, and what beliefs they have about following through on their daily care without shame, without criticizing themselves, without perfectionism. These folks will show you whether they are intentional and kind toward themselves or not. If you just observe them with an open mind and keep doing your own daily mental wellness practices, their practices do not need to be the same as yours. Please note, this also means this is not a time to try to force your friends and family to take care of their mental wellness. Since everyone is at a different place, connect with people who are already active and open in their own practices instead of trying to force or focus on the disappointment you may have with people in your personal life who are just minding their own business and not doing those types of practices because they deserve choice about their lives, even if their choices don't work for you. Step 3. Decide who in your life that does daily mental wellness practices you can have a conversation with about your care if you attend a protest about a violation of your community's human rights. This is a person who, again, because they care for their own emotions with compassion, will not be surprised if your body has a natural human reaction to the lived experience of harm at a protest against harm. This is also important because, for example, you may be fine at the protest or the event itself, but afterward, the exhaustion of daily survivorship may make it difficult to even get out of bed the next day. With this person or persons, you will make a "if I need help" plan. I'll share more details about that part soon. But I want to say in this conversation with them, it's important to directly ask their permission to be an emotional support person for you, to call, text, or ask for help accessing resources of that "if I can't get out of bed" experiences. If that happens to you, getting people's permission to be in community support with us matters. Many of us know what it's like to not be asked before others go ahead and share their trauma experiences with us. Getting consent means asking people what they are available for and giving them choice, especially since they may be a survivor of something, maybe even the same thing as you, just like you. As you connect with others who practice daily mental wellness things that work for them, you may find one person can support you in one way and another supports you in another way. And you can show up for different people differently based on what works best for you and them. The goal is mutual, shared, give and take within relationships with honest desires and real choice. Step 4. So you've heard of a protest and you know you want to attend. Okay, so first remember your body. Beware of attending gatherings to protest harm in which there is no team, organization, or consideration of what will happen if you are physically or emotionally harmed, if your body is hurt. Asking people to gather about trauma, such as a human rights violation, means considering their trauma and having leaders who consider their trauma. Beware of spaces where survivors are held responsible for just acting good in the face of daily danger and trauma. Step 5, you've picked your protest, you've picked your support people, you've asked their permission to reach out to them in case you need it, and they've said yes. So let's make a day of the human rights violation protest plan. To prepare for the possibility of physical or emotional harm, the day of the protest, remember to do those daily mental wellness practices before you get there, maybe the morning of. That day, also tell your support person that you're attending and that you will follow up within 24 hours, that's one day, after the protest with information about how you're doing. Have the understanding that neither of you may be available to text or stay in constant contact during the protest against harm. That would not be wise. It would not support your body in staying calm, having choice, or having awareness in your environment if you are constantly looking down at your phone to text. When you're talking to your support person the next day, you can both confirm that you did use the I Need Help plan, and before the protest, you confirm that you will use it. Okay, so what are the details of the I Need Help plan? When you called to ask the person if they would be a support person and they said yes, this is when you set the details of that plan together. Together, you will have picked from a list of support services or options that reflect who you are and what you want. So you and your support person have already chosen which resources work for you in advance and are not waiting until during or after the protest to investigate what resources are available to help you with your emotional or physical well-being. During that conversation, you could have also asked your support person if you could be their support person in the future if they ever encounter an additional harmful situation and could use the support. This helps build communal mental health expertise. So you'll know what works for them based on their needs and lived experiences and identities, and they'll know what helps you. Now that you all know each other's plans, you can talk about scenarios like, what if you're feeling especially down after a protest or are harmed during one? How will you reach them? What would you like to happen? Do you want them to show up? Do you want them to tell your family? Do you want them to check on your children? Do you want them to let you make your own decisions? Keeping in mind that your memory may be a little shaky after physical or mental trauma. It's completely up to you. And either way, they can remind you of your personal support resource list that is added to your I Need Help plan. And they can keep their copy of your I Need Help plan as well. This means that the plan needs to be written. It cannot just be something that you both are supposed to remember. You can ask, for example, as you're discussing scenarios, if I'm struggling after experiencing this protest against harm, can you please make the decisions based on what I already said matters to me from my list and my plan, instead of maybe asking me a bunch of questions when I'm in that trauma state? When you are in need of help, that can be a good option for you. The point is making sure that you have choice and you are communicating about that. A list of self-care and support resources will be provided in the caption of this video. Okay, so now you're at the protest against human rights violations. We're in step 6. You've already done your daily mental wellness practice, and you know that your I Need Help plan is ready on deck, and so is your support person or persons. When you get to the protest, locate the medic and social work teams. They may have special shirts, areas, or announcements. So it's helpful to be on time so that you can listen for this super important information. Also, continually check in with yourself and your body while you are there. A gathering about human rights violations is not the time to just get in where you fit in or make it work with your own health, especially for people protesting abuse that they are constantly and consistently living with, the abuse that they are personally experiencing every day. If that is you, remember that you deserve your own consideration. This means seeing yourself as worthy of paying attention to and being intentional about it. You're precious. Your life matters, right? So now let's say you realize you need help during the protest against harm. This is a time to contact the medics and the social workers who you already visually identified. Receive the care that you feel comfortable accepting. Be willing to sit, to rest, or to have the support to go home if, through no fault of your own, remember, we are not blaming survivors here. If you get physically or emotionally harmed, you can ask for a follow-up call if you need it. Inform your support person, that's that person who does their own daily mental wellness practices, of your experience. Follow your I Need Help plan with them. Maybe you were fine at the protest against human rights violations, but you realize you need help days later. Call your support persons who do their own daily mental wellness practices. Follow your I Need Help plan, and according to the decisions that you made in advance, let them do the labor of contacting the services and reaching out to people without you having to be involved in the chit chat or trying to inform everyone and take care of other people and their emotions. By the way, when you're in a state of recent harm, that is not the time for you to take care of others' emotions or to listen to them describe all their feelings about the experience that you are living through. That is the time for them to speak to their peers who are not you and let you be the person who rests and receives care. This is also why it's important to have chosen people for your I Need Help plan who do their own daily mental wellness practices. From your support people and from yourself, you deserve good care. If you would like to have additional support in making your I Need Help plan, there will be resources described in the caption that can help you make your own choices. you can pick those that are not listed because you know what's best for you. Feel free to include organizations, individuals, or therapists or mental wellness coaches who honor health, communal wellness, and healing justice. I'll be honest, the crisis options that we have for human rights violations protests do not always seem abundant, but community is genius and amazing. That's another reason why I'm making this video, to let you know that it is possible and necessary to do prep work before the day of a protest with your community, with your loved ones, about harm, to build a daily emotional relationship, a wellness relationship with yourself. This gives you the skills to strengthen your relationships with others who also practice daily mental wellness as well, so you have more emotionally safe people in your life. Keep in mind, some therapists around the USA also coach for mental wellness skills across state and country lines. So consider your needs, including your financial needs, and pick the person or persons who are best based on your lived experiences, your resources, and your desires. Whatever you choose for yourself, you deserve good things.